Okay, Romeo, December 2016. What we have here is a scenario where we're looking at sales and mix again, and I think in a way it's almost again it's about just following the structure and just going with it and not deviating from the method here. I think it's not a bad question, actually. You see, they start off telling you, they give you the standard weight and the standard prices. That's all we're interested in here, the standard prices, until I saw the first question, which was actually asking for price variance, which is not in itself difficult, pretty straight. Nothing changes with price variances. We're simply asking, what's the difference in the price you thought it was going to be and the price you actually bought it for times what you actually bought times actual quantity. That's all price variances are about. Price differences times what you actually bought. That's never going to change. And then we then delve into what we typically see with these variances. So let's see. You've read this question. I hope you've had a go. So you're just using mine as revision. So they give you what happens in 1 month, month 3, and they tell you what happens in month 4, and they tell you month 6. And the first question is what's happening in month 3 regarding price variance. So let's go straight to my spreadsheet. So what I've done is I've said here, well, okay, these are your standards. I've put that in there, first of all. Just sort of, you have this already. It's given to you. So that's given to us already at the beginning of the question. I'll just put that in yellow. Okay, great. And so the next question really is that it tells us you did 18.9. This is what you actually used, bought and used. And I'll put that in yellow now. And you should have paid, it actually cost you, this is what it actually cost you. I'll put that in blue. That's what it should actually have cost you. But this is what this is what it actually cost you, and this is what it should, I'm just taking what it should have cost you per kilogram. Right? I mean, that's literally all I'm doing. I'm saying, this is what it actually cost you. This is what it should have cost you, and I'll put that in a different color. Right, red. And I find the difference, literally. So it should have cost you £7.60 per kilogram. You paid £6.50. So that's favorable, which is why I'm going with this kind of option of making my favorables positive, where you're paying less than you should, right? And I literally do that right across, comparing that with that. And so I have that. So that's how much it should have cost you. And I multiply that across all the kilograms that you bought, which is, if you like, the 1.1 times the 18.9, 0.05 times 6.6, that times that, and 0.3 times 2. And add that all together, and I have a £7.22 favorable variance. So price variances are literally, what should you have bought each kilogram for? What did you buy it for? Find the difference, and multiply by the number of kilograms that were actually bought. Hopefully, as we keep repeating this, you just get comfortable with that natural idea. So your answer is £7.22 favorable, taking you to 1B. Your answer is B for question 1. Okay, great. And then let's carry on here to question 2. So question 2 now says, what is the mix variance in month 3? So with the mix variance again, the issue here is one of ratios. So this is the ratio. It says here that you should spend 0.2 kilograms of this, 0.8, and this is the percentage. So I'm basically telling you, out of 0.42 kilograms, in terms of a mix, you should spend 47%. I mean, I could change all this to percentages. I've done the percentages here. You should spend 48% of it on dough, 19% of it on tomato, 29% of it on cheese, and 5% on herbs. That's the argument. So therefore, we don't care what you're doing. So you go out there and you decide to use, we're told in the question, you use 42 kilograms in month 3. So you use 42 kilograms in month 3, and that's what you did. That's fine. We will find what you should have, how you should have split those 42 kilograms, and that's how you should have split them. I mean, this 20 is literally asking you to take that. I mean, I can do it. I mean, I could do it again, but it's just sort of, I guess so you can see where I'm going. I'm asking you literally to say 48% times 42, pretty much. Use, if you like, I'm just going to come back here and do that. But I'm just going to fix that so that I can drag down and make it quick. So you can sort of see what's happening there. You can see I still get, I did it beforehand, but that's pretty much the same thing again. So you can see I've done that, and of course that adds up, of course, to, yes, of course that adds up to, oops, sorry, that's done, sort of done it twice, but that's added, sorry, that's added the wrong thing, right? So that's that. And let me just add that, right? Okay. And that's 42. Okay, great. So I've done that. I'm just going to get rid of this now. I don't need it. You can see it's exactly the same thing. So what am I now doing? Well, I'm literally looking for the variance, which is the difference. So because I like the favorables to be positive, the argument is that you should have used 20, you used 18.9. So I'm going to say, therefore, in terms of favorable, that's kind of the scenario. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag this down right across. Right, and then, therefore, what I can now do is multiply these by the standard cost. So I will just pull out, bring these, I'll borrow these from here. Same thing, those are the standard prices per kilogram. I'll literally just copy that and bring that here. All right. Yes, I'll just, whatever, I'll take that no fill out. And now I can cost this, right? Ultimately, I can, all I'm doing is doing this times the 7.6, and I can cost this and I can drag this down now. And then I can of course find the sum, which is where I'm ultimately trying to go with this. Enter. So I have 38.14, which takes us, and this is adverse, so this takes us to D. 2 is D, right? 2 is D. And that's how we go with that. So moving on to question 3, now I'm asked to do the material yield variance. And so in terms of yield, again, the issue here again is that, okay, you did, it's material month 4. So you used 45 kilograms to make 110 basic, that's what you actually did over here. I'll put this in red. You used 45 kilograms to make 110 pizzas, right? 45 to make 110 pizzas. Well, my argument is this. If you used 45 kilograms to make 110 pizzas, let's look at it this way. How many kilograms should you have used to make 110 pizzas? I mean, it says you should use 0.42 kilograms to make one pizza. So you should have used 46.2. So I have that. Okay. So that's what you should have used. And I'm doing everything at the standard now. Everything is at standard. Ignore the actual mix. So I'm literally going to delete this now. I just wanted to bring this out there so you can just sort of, so you could just sort of see what I was doing. But I'm going to get rid of this now. I don't need it anymore because I'm not interested in, if you like, actual mixes. I know you did 45 and you should have done 46.2. I'm going to split all of these in the ratio, in this 48%, 19, 29, 5%. I'm purely interested in yield. And I do that exactly for the 45 kilograms that we had here, but not using the actual mix, using the standard mix. So that's the actual, you should have used 46.2. You use 45. So I know this is favorable anyway, because you use less than you should have to make 110 pizzas. And so, and all this, if you like, this is simply just me dividing 45 in the ratio, in that standard ratio that you see me using up here, 48, 19, 29, and 5. Then, of course, I have a variance here, which is the difference between these two, right? And that's that variance happening right there, the difference between this, and that's the standard price, or the standard cost of each kilogram. Multiply that again across, and add that all together, and you have 12.25. So the key issue here is I'm talking about 110 pizzas. I need to just understand the inputs that went into them, split that in the standard ratio format, find the differences, and you're home. You're home. Cool. So the answer is 12.25, which takes you roughly to 3 is A. 3 is A. Okay, great. Now let's go back to the question and look at question 4 and 5. And quite fair, actually. It says here that in month 5, they have reported a favorable material mix. The only reason why you'd report a favorable material mix, remember we're thinking about mix, right? The question here is we're saying that it's because you've used you've probably swapped a more expensive component for a cheaper component, which means in the end you've spent less. In the end, the volume's the same. Remember, we did that in an earlier question where there's no real change in the overall volume, but it's to do with price, the fact that you use something cheaper. So the proportion of relatively expensive ingredients used in proportion was less than the standard. Yes, that's true, because you use less. And really, I could stop there, ultimately, because you've used less of an expensive ingredient. So the answer is A. So here, it's an interesting one. So 5A, the actual cost of per pizza. So in month 6, I guess the question is, let's look at what happened in month 6. So in month 6, this chef goes along. He says that month 6, he makes 100 basic tomato pizzas using a total of 42 kilograms of ingredients. And here's the thing, he should have used 0.42 kilograms per pizza. And this is what he does, and this matches exactly what the standard is as well. So he literally pulls out 100 pizzas out of 42 kilograms. So there is no yield variance. Absolutely nothing. He's done exactly what we were expecting him to do. It matches what we were expecting as well. Then he uses, it says he uses, in terms of volume, it says he uses the expected amount of dough and herbs, but he uses less cheese. And look at cheese. Cheese is pretty expensive, right? Cheese is probably the most, it is the most expensive thing there. He uses less cheese, and he uses more tomato sauce. And he notices, and suddenly we notice that the sale has declined in the second half of the month. So this is very much about volume here issue. So a couple of ones stand out. First of all, the new chef will be responsible for the material price, mix and yield. Well, he can't be responsible for price. He didn't buy the materials, so he can't be held responsible for price. This is a pure responsibility question here. Part number 4. He is responsible though for the mix and yield, but not price. So 4 is not correct. So it says here the actual cost per pizza was lower than the standard cost. Well, yes, that's true. He's used less cheese. So he's used less cheese, he's used more tomato. Tomato's cheaper than cheese, so definitely the actual cost per pizza is actually less. So 1 is correct, giving you B or C. So you'll start always using process of elimination. It's an exam. The sales staff should lose their month 6 bonus because, no, the sales staff, this man is the one, or this chef is the one who goes along and fiddles with the combination. So they can't be held responsible for trying to sell poorly made pizzas. So no, they shouldn't lose their bonus. The value of the ingredients usage variance, if you like, because usage variance is about output. He comes out with the pieces that we need, and the mix variance, if you like, are the same. Well, that's true, because in terms of the usage variance, if you remember, I think I highlighted earlier on that let's look at this. It's not a trick question. I highlighted the fact that when we look at volume, when I talked about sales earlier, and I mentioned the same thing, volume is broken into 2 things, mix and yield. So in terms of yield, there is no yield variance. The idea was to come out with 100 pizzas using 42 kilograms, and he did that exactly. So the yield variance is 0. So any variance really in volume here is purely due to mix. Right? And any variance so the reason why we've sold less is purely due to the mix. But he's come out with yield, as he's come out with the same 42 pizzas. But the question here is that because this is 0, anything here, my answer here, if this is 500 adverse, it must all be mix, which is a bit of it's not a trick question, but it's just getting you to understand these relationships between mix and yield and taking your time to look at it. So I would probably give this maybe some more time in the exam. Value and usage variance are the same, and that is true. So 1 and 3 are correct. Cool, great stuff. So that's that question done.